Em 1983, Ieoh Ming Pei recebeu o Pritzker Prize, um dos mais importantes prêmios internacionais de arquitetura. Em seu discurso ao aceitar o prêmio, ele revelou que no início da década de 40, projetou uma casa para um amigo, mas jamais conseguiu financiamento. O banco julgou suas linhas modernas demais. A plateia riu e Ieoh Ming Pei acrescentou que tinha orgulho em fazer parte da geração que ousou modernizar a arquitetura. Mal sabia ele que a maior batalha de sua vida ainda estava por começar. A imensa polêmica que a Pirâmide do Louvre causaria alguns anos depois.
Architecture and structure are not separate disciplines. They are one. And have to be. That's why I think that if an architect is not sufficiently aware of the forces of structure, I don't think he can really design well. That's my belief. We came up with this pyramid because of its shape. It's not like this. And that will conceal a lot more than this. At the same time, it's also a shape that is structurally very stable. Hence, we can make it very transparent, very light. Then the more transparent it is, the more the palace of the Louvre retains its importance.
O projeto de Pei para a Pirâmide do Louvre baseava-se na capacidade de fazê-la transparente. Para isso, foi usada a técnica inovadora dos cabos de tensão. Para usar os cabos mais finos possíveis, Pei contou com a refinada tecnologia usada nos barcos de competição da America's Cup.
Yes, I did compare the art of architecture to sort of like a shoemaker, you know, making a pair of shoes, handmade. There's a little bit of that handicraft quality that still exists in architecture. All these things, the dimension of it, the threading and the shape of these, all these are not just something you can buy from a 5 and 10 cent store, from a hardware store. You can't. They have to be engineered, drawn and made.
Sua compreensão precisa da estrutura permite a Pei usar as formas geométricas que o atraem.
I belong to those architects that believe that geometry is the driving force for design. But that doesn't mean that geometry consists only of the cone, the sphere, the cube, as Cézanne said in paintings. One has to make variation, combinations out of geometry. We can do that.
Construir arranha-céus não era do interesse de Pei. Não havia nada a acrescentar ao que os pioneiros do modernismo já haviam feito.
Ever since the early days in Chicago, we have not really made much progress in the designing of tall buildings. We have Empire State Building, we have the John Hancock in Chicago, but none of them somehow seem to make a statement saying that we're tall because. And I think that ultimately, what really persuaded me to accept this commission and to do a tall building is to see if I can find a raison d'etre for its design. And the way to approach it really is through structure. Because what makes a tall building unique is not its function, but what makes it unique is really that it has to stand there and resist earthquakes, resist wind. And the wind in Hong Kong is tremendous. It's about more than twice as much as New York. So therefore, these are challenges. And out of this challenge to design a tall building to resist earthquakes and winds, maybe a solution will come that will give it a character. The best way to structure this building is to put all the loads on the four corners of the building. Because in that way, the building can be very stable.
Pei mostrou uma inovação na engenharia. A coluna mais alta da torre distribui o peso do prédio entre seus 4 cantos. Cada vez que há uma interseção, o peso que a coluna suporta é distribuído para as colunas dos cantos. Direcionando o peso para o exterior do prédio, este sistema permitiu liberar espaços internos e exigiu menos gastos com alumínio para as estruturas. Neste caso, a forma não seguiu a função. Aqui, a forma acompanhou a estrutura e tornou-se a geometria de Pei.
We just divided that square, with the base of this building is square, into 45-degree quadrants, so that each quadrant will have a major column to take the load of what goes on top. And that division creates very, very sharp corners. I like that because it takes away from the bluntness of a high building. The building changes as you drive. It's not frontal. Unfortunately, my father died a few years later, and he never had an opportunity to see even the photographs of the model that I made for the bank. So that was something I very, very much regret.
Como a parede externa sustentava a estrutura, Pei pôde criar grandes espaços internos, com janelas que iam de parede a parede, do chão ao teto. Para eliminar o que chamava de projetite, ele fez 2 grandes prédios em vez de vários, deixando espaço para um parque.
I wanted a park in the middle. And the important thing for a park, of course, are trees. And I also wanted a piece of sculpture there, a Picasso sculpture. I thought that would be a centerpiece in the park. Since we have no money to spend, very little money left, so Secondov said, you can have your sculpture, or you can have 40 trees. What do you choose? I said 40 trees. Difficult to say how I feel. I have to say that I feel very, very, very proud to have a hand in this. But I cannot say it without also mentioning that it's also a piece of great luck. I happened to be here in 1983 at the right time. And circumstances is what I continue to reflect on, what made it possible for me to participate in this historic undertaking. It's something of great importance in my life.